his importance to this community for the last 40 and 50 years, it simply cannot be measured. We all know this. And I'm not sure if he is aware that when he speaks and his words, just like we just saw on the screen, we listen to them. When he speaks, we take note. We know that Jacques knows things, and he is willing to share with us that knowledge.
For a long time, for example, when I was first going through the Air Force files, the US Air Force, and all those cases that were, seemed to be a little bit dreamlike or were thrown out as psychological. The psychological stamp was the way to get rid of all of that. Now, I came from Europe, and I had gone through the French files, including the files of the French military. And I think in Europe people took a more nuanced view of that. Psychologists had looked at the witnesses and interviewed them and so on. And those were people who were sane. They were not people who were making up things in everyday life. But what they saw, they could not account for some of the aspects of what they saw. It was as if when a witness is close to the object, it is as if the reality around them dissolved and was replaced with another reality. For example, something which now exists, in dozens, if not hundreds of cases, all sound stops. You don't hear the birds anymore. You don't hear dogs barking. You don't see any cars on the highway. I have, again, a recent case in France that we looked at. This lady was with two young girls in the car. They were going to a family, meeting in the afternoon, bright sky. They saw an object coming out of a cloud. The object came over them, and for about 20 minutes, they took pictures, okay? For about 20 minutes, there was no car on the expressway. Now, this is the expressway that goes from Paris to Brest in Brittany, okay? I have to believe there are cars in the afternoon that drive along. There was no car. There were no sounds, okay? And when I asked her, are you sure what you're telling me, that the object, because you kept driving? She says, yeah, I kept driving. And the object was coming towards you, but it didn't go over the car? If it was coming towards you and you were driving towards it, at some point it should have gone over the car. Well, she had no answer to that. She didn't know. But it's not that person is not, adept at noticing things. Scientists would tell you the same thing. Policemen will tell you the same thing, that they didn't know if they were driving north or south. Well, you're in a patrol car, chasing something, if you're going north or south. You're 10 miles out of your town, and they will suddenly not, remember, it's not necessarily them. It may be that the phenomenon uses a different channel of information to convey information in a different way. And that's, remarkably frequent. There's a case that we used to joke about because it was, the French like to joke about the English and vice versa, but that's fair game. But there was a case in England where the gentleman saw this thing outside, went outside, looked at it, and then the investigator says, well, what did you do? And the answer was, well, it was tea time, so we went inside.
Exactly, exactly.
That's, the French like to joke about that. But that's you know, as you said, it's a frequent reaction. In a lecture where I was showing drawings or paintings that had been done by witnesses about what they had seen, there was a painting of you know, color painting with several objects in the sky, and as I was going out, you know, after the conference, there was one man who came to me and said, you know, I saw that when I was a kid. I saw that with my sister. I saw exactly the same thing. But I didn't remember it until you showed that slide. And I've never spoken to my sister about it, even though we had seen it together. You know, I mean, this is something like, okay, you got this, don't think about it. You know, it's not important. Just it's
still there.
It's in your consciousness somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's maybe one of the most interesting aspects that psychologists should be studying.
Yes.
Of course, you know, people like to use hypnosis to try to do regression, and in the right hands or in the right skills, you know, it is useful. You can get a little bit more information, but in many cases it does more harm than good, because there are other ways of retrieving those memories, of sort of allowing the person to remember on their own terms, in their own time. I think it's harmful to try to force it.